Mostly I do roadsides. I do some open space. Occasionally I go out and do a section of county road just for change. We have a lot of trash, but a lot of it I think comes off garbage trucks that aren't secured. I just can't think we're that bad at it, except around fast food joints. That's us.
I mean, it's just working our own. There's a little path that connects all of us to it's not very
I know. It's partly it's, I mean, partly it's environmental and health issues.
All right, so good afternoon and welcome to the December 4th, 2024 meeting of the Local Agency Formation Commission of Santa Clara County. Santa Clara LAFCO strongly denounces hate speech and does not tolerate disruptive behavior in our meetings. LAFCO prides itself on the rich diversity of our residents. We are committed to creating a culture of belonging where members of our diverse community feel included, safe, and respected. This LAFCO meeting is considered a limited public forum, which means the Commission can regulate the time, place, and manner of speech to prevent our meetings from being disrupted. This protects the rights of other speakers and ensures the Commission can accomplish its business in a reasonably efficient manner. This meeting is being held at 70 West Heading, San Jose, as a courtesy and technology permitting. Members of the public may also attend by virtual teleconference. However, LAFCO cannot guarantee that the public's access to teleconferencing technology will be uninterrupted, and technical difficulties may occur from time to time. Unless required by the Brown Act, the meeting will continue despite technical difficulties for participants using the teleconferencing option. Members of the public in the chambers who wish to address the Commission on an item should complete a request to speak form and place it in the designated tray in front of the dais. Individual speakers will be called to speak in turn. Speakers are requested to limit their comments to 3 minutes. Members of the public who are attending the meeting by virtual teleconference and wish to address the Commission should use the raise hand feature. Those participating by phone should dial *9. Staff will call on you by name or by the last 4 digits of the phone number and unmute each speaker in turn at the appropriate time. Written comments will be distributed to the Commission and posted to the online agenda, but will not be read out loud. Okay, we're ready for agenda item 1, which is roll call. So LAFCO clerk, can you please administer roll call?
Yes, Commissioner Arenas,
Here.
Commissioner Bell, Commissioner Bell, Commissioner Kame, Commissioner Kishimoto,
Here.
Commissioner Lee, Commissioner Trumbull,
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Candelas, Alternate Commissioner Chapman,
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Chavez, Alternate Commissioner O'Neill,
Present.
and Alternate Commissioner Turner.
Here.
Okay, we have six chair present.
Thank you. We have a quorum, and we're going to move on to agenda item number 2, public comments. This is the time for any member of the public to address the Commission on matters not on the agenda, provided that the matter is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Commission. Speakers in the chamber will be called first, followed by speakers participating virtually. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. For those in chambers, if you wish to address the Commission on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and place it in the tray. Sonia, do we have any request to speak forms here in chambers?
No, not at this time,
I don't
Mr. Chair.
see any. Okay, thank you very much. And then do we have anybody attending by Zoom who wishes to speak on this agenda item?
None at this time, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
very good. So we're going to close agenda item number 2, public comments. Let's move on to approve consent calendar. This is agenda item number 3. I'd like to announce that agenda items 4, 6, and 7, and 8 and 9 are proposed for the consent calendar. Agenda item 4 is approval of the minutes. Item 6 is adoption of the schedule of 2025 LAFCO meetings. Item 7 is appointment of 2025 LAFCO chairperson and vice chairperson. Item 8, executive officers report. And item 9 is CalLAFCO related activities. Those are all proposed for the consent calendar. Now is the time for commissioners. If there are any requests to add other items to the consent calendar or remove any items from the consent calendar, now is the time. Commissioner Trumbull, do you have any changes to the consent calendar?
No, I was just going to move approval.
Thank you very much. So we have a motion to approve the consent calendar if there are no changes, and I see a second by Commissioner Kishimoto.
Yeah, I do.
And Vice Chair Arenas, what's on your mind?
I'd like to pull item 7 just for discussion.
You got it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So we're going to remove agenda item 7 which is appointment of 2025 LAFCO chairperson and vice chairperson from the consent agenda. So now we have that motion by Trumbull and Kishimoto. And I feel like we're ready for a roll call vote. So LAFCO clerk, can you administer the roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Arenas?
Yes.
Commissioner Bell? Commissioner Kamei? Commissioner Kishimoto?
Yes.
Commissioner Trumbull?
Yes.
And Chairperson Melton?
Yes.
Yes, we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 in support of, Mr. Chair.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. All right, so we're going to tackle the agenda item that we just removed from the consent calendar. This is agenda item number 7, appointment of 2025 LAFCO chairperson and vice chairperson. This is agenda item number 7. And let me see if we have a staff report on this.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have anything to add too much to what is there. We do have in the LAFCO bylaws a rotation schedule for chair and vice chair that is on an annual basis, and staff, per the rotation schedule, is recommending that Vice Chair Arenas be appointed the chair for 2025, and Commissioner Kamei be appointed the vice chair for 2025. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's go ahead and open it up to comments and questions from the LAFCO board, and we'll start with Vice Chair Arenas.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm happy to take on this this role, but I'm afraid I have really big shoes to follow. And I wanted to take this opportunity to just recognize your leadership, Commissioner Chair Melton. We have done some really good work, and I'm just absolutely honored to have served alongside you, and only wish that we could serve a longer period of time. It's been just really wonderful. We've done some work along bringing the LAFCO local policies into a written form, and have had some very spirited conversations, and even during our own commission meetings here, we've had urban service area discussion where you very eloquently provided a very safe space for us, all of us who had differing opinions about urban service areas, and we were able to tackle it in a way that I think was very meaningful for everybody who participated. And so I think that's part of what you bring, is this elegance of hearing both sides. At times you bring up your own alternative scenarios, and that's because I think there's a long period of public service that you have under your belt, and that kind of experience shows in the way that you lead a group, especially around land use that can be a little high stakes and sometimes controversial, right? And so I really just wanted to take the moment to appreciate your leadership, to say thank you, and darn it, I wish you hadn't done such a great job, because it makes it so much more difficult for me to step in. But I hope that I get to be the kind of chair that Russ Melton was. And so I know that my colleague isn't here today, but I wanted to take an opportunity to present this to you. This is a certificate of commendation, and it's between Supervisor Otto Lee and myself, and this is just in recognition of the wonderful leadership that we have all benefited from for 2 years now. So thank you so much, Russ.
Oh my gosh,
Appreciate it.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Ooh, let's take a picture. We love pictures.
Thank you so much. I was not expecting this moment at this time, so thank you for what is really an incredible surprise. I really appreciate it. I think I had some extemporaneous thoughts that I'll share later on in the agenda when we get to commissioner comments, but I do think it is well understood that this is my last meeting of Santa Clara LAFCO, and when the time comes, I'll mention how much I'm going to miss LAFCO, how much I've enjoyed serving on LAFCO, what an honor it's been to serve as chairperson. And Supervisor Arenas, you're going to do a great job in 2025. There's no question in my mind, because of not only what you bring to the table, Sylvia, but just the incredible board that we have here of the commissioners and the incredible staff and our members of the public who all support and advocate for and with LAFCO for all of these things that we've talked about. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate it, Sylvia, and I'm totally surprised. And that means a lot to me. So thank you very much for that. Okay, so
And do we need a formal approval? Sorry, thank you.
getting back,
A motion to approve item 7.
I believe we have a motion and a second. If the motion carries, and hi, Councilmember Kamei, thank you very much. If the motion carries, and we're talking about agenda item 7, Rosemary, so this is appointment of chair and vice chair for 2025. If the motion carries, then the 2025 chairperson is Supervisor Arenas, and you, Councilmember Kamei, would be vice chair. So just want to make sure everybody has their eyes open in terms of what the motion is on the floor. If there's any further discussion, I'm just going to scan for lights turned on. I do not see any. And then I feel like we're ready for a roll call vote. So Sonia, please.
Chair, just to confirm, there's no public comment on this?
Let's do a swing through for public comment. Thank you, Mala, for not letting me forget about that. So I'm going to do a quick scan here for any cards turned in council chambers. Not seeing any. Sonia, can you give me a scan on Zoom to see if we have any online participants that wish to speak at this time?
No, Mr. Chair, there are no speakers on this
Okay.
item.
Very good. So I'm going to close the public hearing on this agenda item. And Sonia, we're ready for a roll call vote, please.
Okay. Commissioner Arenas?
Yes.
Commissioner Bell? Commissioner Kamei? Commissioner Kishimoto?
Aye.
Commissioner Trumbull?
Yes.
And Chairperson Melton?
Yes.
Yes, we have 6 in support, none opposed.
Okay, motion carries unanimously, 6-0. We're going to move on in the agenda. Now it's time for agenda item 5, comprehensive review and update of LAFCO policies. And let's see if we have a staff report.
I do, thank you, Chair. I have a brief presentation to share. After the October LAFCO public hearing, where the Commission received feedback on the proposed LAFCO policy revisions, staff worked with the ad hoc committee composed of Chair Melton, Vice Chair Arenas, and alternate Commissioner Chapman. We reviewed the comments received. We prepared responses to the comments, made revisions to the policies as needed, and we published the ad hoc committee recommended policy updates for a second round of public review and input. During the second round, we received 3 comment letters. Staff has prepared responses to these comments, which are now included in attachment E of the staff report. The updated policies recommended by the ad hoc committee are included in attachment C. Additionally, the ad hoc committee recommended that the full commission consider policy number 5.2.4 prior to adopting chapter 5 of the policies. To support the commission's consideration of policy 5.2.4, staff has prepared options and analysis in the staff report. As you know, Government Code 56133 requires cities and special districts to obtain approval from LAFCO before providing new services outside their jurisdictional boundaries. The statute allows exemptions from LAFCO approval under Government Code 56133E, but it does not specify who determines these exemptions. It is LAFCO Council's opinion that LAFCO has the authority to adopt a policy as to who should make the determination that a service extension is exempt from LAFCO approval. There are 2 policy options for the Commission to consider. Option 1 is for LAFCO is the single body that makes exemption determinations via a uniform and transparent process. Option 2 is for where agencies providing the service would decide on the exemptions through their own processes. The current practice is that agencies contact LAFCO staff to inquire if a proposal would be exempt from LAFCO approval. Proposed policy 5.2.4 formalizes our existing practice for LAFCO to determine exemptions under Government Code 56133E. The proposed process is simple, requires only an email or phone call, and does not require an application or any fees. It also includes a no-cost appeal option to the full commission. The centralized decision-making under LAFCO ensures uniform interpretation and application of exemption criteria with a focus on the public interest of preventing growth-inducing impacts and ensuring decisions align with the countywide urban development policy goals. So the proposed policy provides clarity and transparency and helps avert future conflicts. That concludes my report, and with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So what we're going to do next is see if the commissioners have any questions of staff on this item or any preliminary comments. Then once we've done the preliminary round, we'll swing over to a public hearing to hear from any members of the public that wish to address the commission, and then finally bring it back to the commission for any more discussion and potentially a motion. So let's see if the LAFCO commissioners have any questions or comments with regards. And I see first up I have Commissioner Trumbull, and then next in line is Commissioner Kishimoto. Oh, got it. Commissioner Kishimoto, what's on your mind?
Well, first of all, I do want to thank our staff and the committee that worked on this. I submitted a letter, as you probably saw in the packet, and I really appreciate your thoughtful response and the changes that you made. So the questions had to do with SOI and then the out of agency service contract. And I'm happy to see that the procedure for asking was clarified, and also I asked a question about whether it would be automatically reported on the board, and they differentiated between exploratory and a more formal ask, and so I was happy to see that. I think the only and we did present it to actually the Special Districts Association just yesterday. I think the only question I have remaining would be regarding the ag worker exemptions, and what happens in the case of the ag worker housing changing. I mean that use changing, and is there a way to either rescind that approval or cap the infrastructure, or make it conditional? And I don't know if staff or our attorney has given any more thought to that.
Thank you, Commissioner Kishimoto. The proposed policies do have requirements that this proposed use would be for ag worker housing. If the commission wants additional protections, then there is the option for the commission to do conditional, to add on to this as a conditional approval for their approval, and note that their approval would be valid for the particularly approved use, which would be ag worker housing. So that's one way to address that.
Okay, thank you very much. Very good, thank you.
Just to follow up on that, which is, can you talk a little bit more about what what protection that provides in terms of either enforcement or.
In terms of an out-of-agency service contract approval, generally, LAFCO doesn't go back to review them proactively to make sure that the use remains as was approved. Sometimes these are issues that come up when we receive another application from the agency and we review past applications and how those applications have been effective or affected, and that's one way to do it. We don't really have an enforcement program, if that's what you're thinking about.
Okay, thank you very much. Alternate Commissioner Chapman, what's on your mind?
Thank you, Chair. And I will save my compliments to the outgoing chair for later. But just want to express my appreciation for being on the ad hoc committee. It was a wonderful learning experience to work alongside with Commissioner Arenas and Chair Melton and staff for the amount of work that you did above and beyond, and some of the extra meetings that we asked for, being the special district representative. I know there were some concerns about the out-of-agency, so I'm just doing this as a matter of record for transparency, because I know it was a subject of conversation at the last special district meeting, is just to make sure that legal is assured. And if you could just, for the record for me, just repeat, make sure that we are clear with LAFCO accepting the responsibility at this time.
Thank you. Yes, as Nalima mentioned, the law is silent on this, but I do believe that LAFCO has the authority to proceed with the policies as recommended.
Thank you. That's kind of the crux of several conversations that we had, so I just wanted to make sure that I'm okay with that particular, because I think that's one thing that we had yet to resolve. And again, and I share the concern of Commissioner Kishimoto about making sure ag housing has the guardrails so that we keep it as ag housing, that we don't open a back door at some point and chip away at the intent to make sure that the most vulnerable are housed where they should be. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm just going to do another scan here for microphone lights turned on, indicating a desire to speak. And next up is Vice Chair Arenas.
Thank you. I'm glad that this has come up. I know this is an area where I wasn't completely in agreement, because I know that LAFCO is taking that authority to make exemption determinations, and I know that the government code states something slightly different. And so I know that our county council submitted a letter reflecting that I think the 55 years, the 55-year requirement doesn't align, as discussed in the call, the county zoning ordinance. I'm reading not off of this out of this letter. County zoning ordinance includes requirements for permanent agricultural employee housing, which may not align with the 55-year requirement. And so I know that we can offer maybe something slightly different that could suffice for the duration of the approved use. Could be something alternative, or what we could do is, if there's still questions about it, and I think in some of the letters that we received, there's still some questions about it, that we could have a bit of an extended conversation on this, equivalent to maybe a study session, not exactly, just so that we're all on the same page about what this means, and if we're taking this on, this exemption authority on, that we understand what that translates to in terms of policies for submittals that come through. And I know that agricultural worker housing is a concern for many. I want to make sure that folks feel confident that those who are building agricultural worker housing remain agricultural worker housing, right? Because it would be the worst thing that could happen is for some kind of transition to happen. So, you know, what I'm offering is maybe pulling this out of our policies that we have today that I don't know what the conversation is going to be around other areas, but if there's any other areas, certainly this area, that we talk about it in our next meeting and we really break it down so that everyone feels comfortable about what that translates to, how we can protect future housing development that's going to apply to agriculture workers. And then for those who may claim that they're agriculture worker housing and it's not, and so how we could make sure that we protect those future developments. And you know, one of the things I ask my colleagues is to be flexible in the way in terms of offering some alternatives to projects. As you know, we have the builder's remedy. We just submitted we just submitted our housing element. The county has. We approved it this week. It seems like it's going to be in the queue. Hopefully it'll be approved sometime soon. But in my district alone, we have 23 projects that are builder's remedy, and some of them, there's a good deal of them that impact agricultural land. In the meantime, while this all happens, I don't want to give folks, I want folks to come to LAFCO, right? I want them to be encouraged to come through our process. And so I think this just merits a longer conversation is what it comes down to. And I want everyone to feel comfortable about future agricultural worker housing that is going to get built and that it, remain for that type of individual or family. So anyways, that's my suggestion. Love to hear from my colleagues and see if this is something that they would like to take on for the next, in next year.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to just do another scan to see any microphone lights turned on. Commissioner Kamei, what's on your mind?
Thank you so much. I also think that that's a good idea. I think it's better to have a full understanding. And I really want to thank the committee for going through all this. This is a lot of work and a lot of time. And I'd like to thank the staff as well. But I also think that it is a good idea that we have that we're grounded on full understanding of what this is and what it is not. So I would agree with our soon-to-be chair.
Thank you very much. I don't see any other microphone lights turned on. Before we head over to public comment, I also just want to say it was a pleasure to serve on the subcommittee. This is a topic that we've been trying to get to for quite some time here at Santa Clara LAFCO. And I remember when we got this off the launch pad, it was sort of an inflection point of what is the next big thing that we want to work on here at Santa Clara LAFCO. And this was door number one, was this modernization of our policies. But the next thing that we need to work on that we put aside for the moment is our service review for water and wastewater. And that was going to be a real big one. We couldn't do both simultaneously, and so the LAFCO chose to do the policy modernization first. I walk into the room, of course I'll be guided with what the majority of LAFCO commissioners want to do. I find myself comfortable with the staff recommendation. I would be okay to get the entirety of the staff recommendation across the finish line. And I might have a couple of sentences of advocacy in that regard. And I understand the policy 5.2.4 with regards to who gets to make the exemption determination. So I just wanted to signal and share with my colleagues, I'm comfortable with the staff recommendation, but of course we'll be guided by how it is that we can get 4 votes together and get something across the finish line. So I'll just put that out there. I don't see any other lights turned on, so I'm of a mind to go ahead and open up the public hearing. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to scan the room to see if we have any speaker cards turned in. I do not see any. Sonia, can you give me a signal if we have any members of the public wishing to speak online?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there are 2 speakers on this item. The first speaker is Stephanie Moreno, and you have 3 minutes to speak. Please accept the unmute.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Moreno. I'm the Executive Director for the North Santa Clara Resource Conservation District. We sincerely appreciate the opportunity you've given us to present both oral and written comments on the issue relative to the policy on out-of-area exemptions. I have to say I am concerned, especially in light of Commissioner Chapman's question, that staff and LAFCO Council did not disclose that there's a letter in the file from the Santa Clara County Council that appears to disagree with the LAFCO attorney's position on this. Hopefully I'm reading this correctly, but it says that, as we noted during the meeting, and they're referring to a meeting that they held with the LAFCO attorney, as we noted during the meeting, nothing in Government Code Section 56133 or any other provision of California law grants Santa Clara LAFCO authority to make exemption determinations. Instead, the Government Code states that the requirements for LAFCO approval of OASC proposals do not apply to the categories of projects described in Section 56133E 1 through 6. This has been our position all along during this public hearing process. We're grateful to hear that it appears that Santa Clara County Council agrees with that position. We'd like the commission to rediscuss that in light of that letter in the file. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Green Foothills, and I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute. You will have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Melton, Vice Chair Arenas, and Commissioners. This is Alice Kaufman, Policy and Advocacy Director for Green Foothills. And I just wanted to say on behalf of myself and the other environmental groups, I know you received our joint letter saying that we strongly support the revised version of the LAFCO policy updates with the revisions that were made after the October 2 meeting. In particular, we appreciate and support the changes that were made to the policies regarding farm worker housing. As Vice Chair Arenas said, it's so important that housing that is approved as ag housing remains as ag housing. And that's been our goal throughout this whole process. So thank you for making the changes that you did. We support those changes, and we ask that the Commission approve this current draft. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no speakers at this time, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're going to go ahead and close the public comment. Let's go ahead and bring this back up to the dais for any further commission discussion. I'm going to take the liberty to ask staff a question here. I'll jump in. We can see that the recommended action from staff consists of 9 items. What does it look like if the LAFCO board is of a mind today to approve, let's say, 8 of them, or some number less than 9, and then withhold one of the items to a future date? What does that look like?
Well, it's at the commission's discretion to do that. If there is specific direction as to what the commission wants to discuss, would it be the specific policy, 5.2.4? Would it be the entire chapter? What would be the purpose would be really helpful for staff.
Okay, And so what I'm picking up, Neelima, from what I heard you say, there's nothing requiring this to be an all or nothing motion. There's nothing that says we have to do all 9 of these or none of them. Is that a correct statement?
Yes, for the most part. The reason that we brought these policies together is because these policies are so intertwined. We want to make sure that what we have in, say, Chapter 2 matches what we have in Chapter 5, etc. And these are all policies that would impact other policies. So just something to consider for the commission.
There's the old saying, Neelima, about a thread on a tapestry, right? You pull the thread and the whole tapestry has the potential to be changed, right? And so I'm not advocating for anything right now, but what I'm hearing is, of course, the staff recommendation is 1 through 9 all en suite together at one time, with the possibility for unintended consequences or things that might not be foreseen if we do 8 of the 9 and pull 1 of them out for further discussion in 2025. Okay, so I've got that. Let's bring it back to the dais for further discussion or comments. And Commissioner Kishimoto, what's on your mind?
Yes, thank you. So, well, could I ask staff and our attorney to comment on the county council's letter? And I mean, it does seem that there's some disagreement. Is that correct? Or,
Yes, I think that's correct.
and so basically, it's up to this board to
Take either of the options that the executive officer offered. So if it's the pleasure of the commission, LAFCO can make the determination on the exemptions for the reasons we've discussed. And alternatively, if it's the pleasure of the commission, can take option 2, which is to have the agency make that determination. Obviously, and even noted in the county council's letter, one of the exemptions also that's referenced will require LAFCO's formal approval should that exemption apply.
And well, I guess the question is for the council. I mean, what further work would we do to probe into this, the different, the different attorneys' opinions? Does anyone have a thought about that? Anyone who is considering postponing or pulling out the one section for more deliberation?
Was that a question for staff or amongst
It would be a question for,
For the dais.
the commission, the dais, yeah.
If I may, I'll take the liberty of jumping in and saying it appears from the conversation, and again, I'm not advocating for any particular outcome, with regards to recommended action 4, which talks about this policy 5.2.4 and who it is that makes the exemption determination. I've heard 3 potential outcomes. So potential outcome number 1 is that this LAFCO board decides today, here and now, that it shall be the LAFCO board who makes the exemption determination. I've already signaled that I'm comfortable with that, but I'm not making any advocacy. Alternative 2 would be that this LAFCO board today, here and now, makes the decision that it shall be up to the individual agency to make the exemption determination. So that's alternative 2. And then alternative 3 would be we don't make a decision on alternative 4 and kick that to the year 2025 for further discussion. So I would say I'm in favor of making a decision today. I know which decision I would advocate for, but I'm just trying to establish a framework for the commission to
Yeah, I appreciate.
decision.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
appreciate that. Yeah, I think I would agree with you, Mr. Chair. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, let's keep it rolling. Vice Chair Arenas, what's on your mind?
I'm sorry, did I just hear you say that you would be okay with moving forward with having LAFCO make the determination. And then, Commissioner, you agreed with that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm willing to get on board with that. And I think if we, any meeting, any future meeting that we have where we encounter some difficulties around this area, we can come back to this policy, right? And we can adjust it, and we can say, LAFCO no longer holds that authority for exemption, and each special district decides for themselves if it becomes really problematic. So I'm willing so that we can just continue to move forward with in the spirit of just progress. We can go ahead and just move forward with that. I think that if we can move forward with all of the policies that we have developed so far, and if there's an opportunity for us to continue to have further discussion about our policies, that we can table those and then decide together that we want to have a deeper understanding or conversations around those policies. I think it is important, and this being your last meeting, Chair Melton, that we close it with with a big bang, and that would be wrapping up these policies. So I'm okay with moving us forward.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Let me just ask a clarifying question to staff based on what I just heard from the Vice Chair. Imagine a world, staff, where like 9 months from now, the LAFCO Commission realizes that the policy that we may very well be adopting today on 5.2.4 is not working, right? Something that we're not seeing today tells us, brother, we need to reconsider. It seems to me that at any point on any policy that Santa Clara LAFCO has, by passing a motion, LAFCO could say, staff, get to work, and we want to revisit this, give us some ideas, what would the other impacted policies look like, right? That's just a motion that can be done. Can staff respond to that, please?
Yes, you can definitely the commission can direct staff at a future meeting to revisit a policy or just bring it back for discussion. That can always be done at any time.
Great, thank you, Mala. I appreciate that. Okay, looking back at microphone lights turned on, Supervisor Vice Chair Arenas, what's on your mind?
Oh, I'm so sorry that I forgot to. Well, you know what? Let me ask and see if I'm going to drop my comment. Never mind.
Okay,
Thank
you very much. I'm sensing, colleagues, that we might be ready for a motion. Then, testing the will of council, a potential motion might be to move staff recommended action, which would be 1 through 9. And let's see if we have a motion.
I'll make that recommendation to accept staff recommendations.
So I see a motion by Arenas. I see a second, I think, by Commissioner Bell. Was that a second, Jim?
No, I wanted to speak.
Oh, of course. I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay. My apologies, Jim. Thank you. Please go right ahead.
When I was a county supervisor, I served with this guy, Joe Cerna. Joe Cerna was the supervisor from Sacramento County. And Joe Cerna was a farm worker that became elected to be the Board of Supervisors Chair of Sacramento. And he had a strong advocacy for farm worker housing. Okay, so the legislature, Joe passed away unexpectedly. And the legislature and CSAC, the county governments, went to the legislature and they created the Joe Cerna Farm Worker Housing Program. When I was in the state Senate, I introduced SB2, which is the $5 billion housing bond that was approved by the voters in 2018. We included $300 million for the Joe Cerna Farm Worker Housing Program, and we had testimony from his son, Supervisor Phil Cerna, who's county supervisor in Sacramento. Okay, so just give me a little history there. When we approved the bond measure, or had it in the legislature, I had this young freshman legislator come up, and he said he wanted to be the co-sponsor. He said he lived in farm worker housing and down in Piscinas in San Benito County, and he was so excited about it. And I said, sure, you can be I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I said, you can be the co-author of this, okay? So he said, yeah, I want to make sure that this housing is permanently farm worker housing. So right now, there's $300 million, according with my legislation, that goes into Joe Cerna's farm worker housing program. And Joe Cerna's farm worker housing program has a provision in it that has to be farm worker housing. It's a covenant that goes into the housing. It's restricted that it has to be affordable farm worker housing. Now, it seems to me that what we're talking about here is if we have some financing for housing, for farm worker housing, it has Joe Cerna money, any type of Joe Cerna money, we call it. There is no, that in itself would restrict the housing, and there would be no need for anybody to review that. That's just the law. And it's not going to change because that young legislator is still there. He happens to be named Robert Rivas, Speaker of the State Assembly, who was my co-author on the bill. So I think there are the financing of the housing puts restrictions on it. It's just like any other affordable housing project when you have financing from the federal, state government. Well, in the Joe Cerna's case, it has to not only restrict it to be affordable farm worker housing, it has to be restricted to the type of operations, the health and safety rules, the approval of local government. And I just want to say, I'm just giving you some background so that we can understand that sometimes the farm worker housing laws already have, the laws in the state laws that finance most of the farm worker housing already have a lot of restrictions and covenants on them. Okay, so they're not privately financed folks, they're financed by the state Joe Cerna farm worker housing. We had $300 million. I think they put another $200 million since I left. I mean, there's a lot of money there if you look it up. You could look up Joe Cerna's housing program. There's a lot of money there. So the restrictions, once it gets Cerna housing funds, it has to be restricted. That's it. You've got to put that in your deed if you want to build that kind of housing. The housing could be built by a private person. It could be built mostly by nonprofit. Robert Rivas prefers nonprofit organizations to build the Joe Cerna program. Okay, he likes the nonprofits to have, like land, like own. The reason I'm raising this is the water district. I'm on. We have some land down in South County. One of our missions is to promote agriculture, So the water district right now is looking at our land use, and we prefer nonprofit farm worker housing that's financed by Joe Cerna and federal funds to provide housing, clean, decent housing for farm workers. And the reason why Joe Cerna was so insistent on that, because it was almost invariably the farm workers were taken advantage of because they were immigrants. Okay, and they would have, if they wanted to live in that house and get their job, they have to get kickbacks. And there was all kinds of bad things happening. And then I don't know if any of you remember the squalor, the death, and the problems up in Half Moon Bay. The mess they were putting, like they put containers up there and they put people in them without any windows or sanitation or anything. They had people living in these. And that's the reason they're doing this. They have health and safety, strong standards for the farm worker housing. Well, what's LAFCO have to do with it? Well, I don't think LAFCO should impede farm worker housing, in my opinion. I think we should have farm worker housing. provide for our agricultural production. I think it ought, as long as it conforms to our, county, city rules, LAFCO rules, we should respect the fact that there's going to be restrictions on the deed for that. Okay? And it's not going to be taken away by anybody because it's a forever restriction because the housing's built. I'm just saying that. So kind of have a background on this policy that we're saying we don't want to impede the farm worker housing, especially right now where there's a lot of people that are really frightened right now, and we need to help them as much as we can. I mean, that's my opinion. This is the time we have to all step forward, right? Yeah. We have to step forward. I mean, this is like a crisis. We have to step forward. These are the people that could lose their jobs and be sent back to the country which they came from. This is wrong. We have to deal with this. So it's a crisis. I've gotten on my hobby horse a little bit because I spent so much time on this, with Phil and Phil actually came to the signing ceremony with the governor, start crying. Supervisor Phil, because of his dad, his dad Joe. And Phil, I know Phil cares about this a lot. So there's a lot of people that were involved in. This is going to be a forever program too. There are always going to be people that are willing to put money into Joe Cerna housing program for Joe's legacy. Okay, just county supervisor, great man. He's a great Sacramento. Okay, thank you.
Second.
Thank you so much. We have, thank you, Commissioner Bell, for your comments and historical perspective. Thank you, Commissioner Trumbull, for seconding the motion on the floor, which, as a reminder, was approve the recommended action by staff, which is alternatives 1 through 9 inclusive. We'll get to a vote in just a second here. Like I said, I'm really grateful that we're at this point here today. I've said before, so I'll be brief, if I look ahead into the year 2025 and 2026, I think the two big waves that will come ashore to Santa Clara LAFCO are going to revolve around farm worker housing, and I really appreciate Supervisor Arenas' leadership at the county, and we know that the executive staff of Sylvia Gallegos at the county is working on a referral, and that's her thing to do at the county. That may very well at some point come ashore here at Santa Clara LAFCO, but I do agree, Commissioner Bell, with your words and the modernizations that we've been able to do in our policies to be ready for that moment. The second thing that I think is going to come ashore at Santa Clara LAFCO in the next year or two that was mentioned a few minutes ago by Vice Chair Arenas are the number of builders remedy projects in unincorporated Santa Clara County. Sylvia, I'm astonished by the number that you said of 23 builders remedy projects, which I presume are all in unincorporated district, just in District 1, right? And so I feel that the modernizations that we've done to our policies help shore up our policies for those things that may very well be coming to us, and I'm just happy to get this across the finish line. So we're going to do a quick scan here before we call for a roll call vote for any final comments or questions. Commissioner Trumbull, your light is turned on. It's now turned off. I'm going to call for a roll call vote then. Sonia, please proceed.
Okay. Commissioner Arenas?
Yes.
Commissioner Bell?
Aye.
Commissioner Kamei?
Aye.
Commissioner Kishimoto?
Yes.
Commissioner Trumbull?
Yes.
And Chairperson Melton?
Yes.
Okay, we have 6 in support, none opposed.
Okay, motion passes unanimously, 6-0. Very well done, everybody. Thank you, staff. Thank you, subcommittee. Thank you, members of our public, and everybody who contacted LAFCO about all of this. I'm just going to keep moving forward through the agenda here. Agenda item number 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 were all approved on consent. Staff, am I tracking that correctly? Okay, very good. So we're going to move on to agenda item number 10, which is commissioner reports. I have something brief to say, but first I'm going to take a look and see if anybody else has their light turned on. So what I wanted to mention, as I said briefly earlier in the meeting, this is my last meeting as a Santa Clara LAFCO commissioner. People ask me in the city of Sunnyvale, they say, Russ, what are you going to miss the most about being a council member in Sunnyvale? And Sylvia, you're absolutely right. Of course, there are going to be many, many things in my city, in Sunnyvale, that are specific to the city that I love and hold dearly and am incredibly proud of to have been able to be a part of moving forward. But I've got 2 intergovernmental assignments. That's what we call it in Sunnyvale. One is the Silicon Valley Regional Interoperability Authority that I serve as board chairman on. This is the radio communications system, county-wide, north, south, east, and west, that all of our first responders, police, and fire use. It's all interconnected, and I'm very proud of that. But I'm also just tremendously proud to have served 8 years on Santa Clara LAFCO. I started off as an alternate commissioner back in 2017 and did that for a number of years. Before moving over to the dais here, and just filled with gratitude to have served as your chairperson for the past year and a half, and all the accomplishments that we've been able to do together. I think most notably the Morgan Hill application and getting to a unanimous vote on that was very noteworthy. And then the accomplishment that we just had on the policies modernization, with many thanks to my colleagues, with many thanks to our members of the public, with many thanks to our professional staff, our alternate commissioners. I'm told by our executive officer, Nilima Palicherla, that I'm required to show up in February at your next meeting as a member of the public. So for some additional things for which I will be immensely grateful, but for now I'm going to turn off my microphone and see if anybody else wants to jump in with any other commissioner comments. And Alternative Commissioner Chapman, it's over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Well, it's been an honor to serve with you for the last 4 years, and you did a fantastic job trying to navigate the process through the policy work. And I wanted to say I really appreciate your leadership and your kindness and your temperament trying to navigate through, what was a body of hard work to do. And so I extend my appreciation. So, and then for my commissioner update, I just wanted to share with you some exciting news from the Open Space Authority side. So again, this is why we do the work we do, right? So the Laguna Seca property has now officially been transferred from Post into the Open Space Authority. So the 377 acres, which you probably know is the wetlands, which floods every year, is now under the ownership of the Open Space Authority. We expect 2 more land transfers from Post and Coyote Valley in the coming year for a total of 800 additional acres in the authority's ownership. We were awarded $5 million from the Wildlife Conservation Fund, which are going to go towards purchase of properties in mid-Coyote Valley. And then, of course, we're celebrating the passage of Prop 4, which allocates $25 million for the Coyote Valley Conservation Plan. So a lot of good news to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is good news indeed, and congratulations on the land transfers from Post to the Open Space Authority, quite clearly in the public interest. So great stuff there. I'm going to move on. Alternate Commissioner Turner, what's on your mind?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say thank you to you. I do serve on the SVRIA with you, and you're the chair on that one. And you've always run very good meetings. You're always very efficient, always very prepared, and very professional. And I just want to say thank you for your leadership and all that you've done, and wish you the best of luck as you move on.
Thank you very much, Mark. I really appreciate that. Okay, I feel like we're getting ready to move on. Commissioner Kishimoto, what's on your mind?
Well, let me add my thanks to you. I mean, you're always so diplomatic and inclusive, but you also move things forward, and we really appreciate your leadership on that. Thank you.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you. Okay, I feel like we're ready to move on off of commissioner comments. Now in a couple of minutes, we're going to do closed session, so everybody hang on for that. But before we get to that, agenda item number 11 is newspaper articles or newsletters. I feel like we don't have anything there, but I'm just going to scan to see executive officer. Do we have anything there?
We have the newsletter from Clara LAFCO that's included in there.
I I read that. They always do a great job. So
Yes.
take a look, commissioners, if you have a minute and haven't had a chance to read that yet. Let's move on to agenda item 12, written correspondence. I don't see any action required on that item. Neelima, anything to report there? Seeing none. Okay, so now it's time to move on to agenda item 13. This will bring us into closed session, so I have to read the following. This is a closed session item. Commissioners and LAFCO council will leave this public meeting for the closed session. LAFCO staff will continue to be present at this public meeting. At the end of the closed session, commissioners will rejoin this public LAFCO meeting, and LAFCO council will report on the closed session as appropriate. So we are now in closed session. Thank you, everybody.
I'm good, how are you?
I thought I was gonna have to leave, but then they excused me from the other meeting, so.
Oh, great. I'm glad to have you here. Yeah, you were first to be on the agenda. And you vice chair.
I know I come in and it's like, but, you know, it's good. I think it'll be fun. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to meet Lorena sometime.
Yeah, she's my,
You have a new scheduler for you?
she does everything.
Yeah,
So,
seems nice. I'm just alone. I want your Japanese background. Your Japanese background?
well, my,
Japanese mixed. I'm not Japanese. Japanese and black. I want to share that with you. Kishimoto. Kishimoto-san. Yeah.
as a matter of fact, my grandson is 2.5. He goes to a bilingual immersion daycare.
Oh, yeah?
He speaks Japanese.
Already?
My daughter.
2.5, huh? Wow. Is it here in San Jose area or somewhere else? Oh, Mountain View, yeah. That's good.
But I already learned some lessons, you know.
In Japanese?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely don't know.
Yeah, so, yeah, I don't know Japanese, but, you know,
Yeah.
the thing is that my daughter does.
Does she?
Yeah.
Did you take it in school?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and then she lived in Japan 2 years.
Oh, nice.
So, you know, she's just good with languages. She speaks Spanish also.
Yeah. Yeah, I only know words.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Okay, we're back. It is 3:08 p.m. The LAFCO meeting has been reconvened, and we still have a quorum. Thank you, everybody. This is agenda item 14, report out of closed session. LAFCO Council, can you please provide us a report?
Thank you, Chair. There's no reportable action.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on, agenda item 15, we're ready to adjourn this regular LAFCO meeting to the next one on February 5th, 2025 at 1:15 p.m. in the Board of Supervisors Chamber, 70 West Heading Street, San Jose. Thank you very much, everybody. Safe travels, happy holidays, happy new year, and the next meeting is in February. Thank you. Thank you.